All right, today we're diving into something really cool, a quiet revolution that's happening in music classrooms everywhere. We're going to look at how music education is finally starting to change its tune, moving away from the dusty old rulebooks and towards a future that's way more creative, vibrant, and honestly, a lot more fun. So, let me ask you, when you think of music class, what pops into your head? Is it endless drills of scales, memorizing which note goes on which line? Well, you might need to update that mental image because the way music is being taught today, it's probably way more dynamic than what you remember. To really get what's happening now, we kind of have to look back at the old way of doing things. For decades, music theory was taught like a math problem. It was this set of abstract, disconnected rules that, for a lot of students, felt completely separate from the actual joy of making music. And this quote from educational consultant Michelle Connolly just nails it. It's all about finding that musical light bulb moment. The big shift is from just passively learning rules to actively creating things. It's about turning theory from something you get tested on into a tool you can actually use. I mean, this was the reality for so many of us, right? You'd learn the what, this is a C major scale, this is a perfect fifth, but you never really got to the why. This whole approach kind of separated the technical stuff from the emotional, expressive heart of music, and frankly, it left a lot of kids feeling pretty bored. So why the big change all of a sudden? Well, educators and researchers are realizing that this new hands-on approach doesn't just make for better musicians, it actually helps build better thinkers. It's like a full-on symphony for the brain. Seriously, modern music class is a powerhouse for brain development. When kids are composing or improvising, they're not just memorizing, they're building new connections in their brains. We're talking about enhanced neuroplasticity here, which is just a fancy way of saying their brains are getting stronger, more adaptable, and better at learning, all through making music. How cool is that? Okay, so how are teachers actually making this happen in the classroom? Well, it all starts with some really clever tools that turn listening from a passive thing into an active, engaging experience. Let's check one out. Get ready for the music gramma. This thing is a total game changer, developed by an educator named Jose Waitak. Think about it. Music is invisible, right? It just unfolds over time. That can be really hard for a young learner to grasp. A musical gramma makes the music visible. It's a roadmap that lets you see the sound, connecting what you hear with what you see. And here's a perfect example of this creative spirit in action. This student didn't just write some notes on a page. They wrote a whole song to help them remember the formula for a rhombus. I'm not kidding. This is where music class meets math class. And it creates something that's not only educational, but, actually memorable. So the process itself is brilliantly hands-on. First, you just listen. Then you listen again while following the visual map, the musicogramma. And then, this is the best part, you add movement. You're clapping, snapping, or stomping along. By doing that, you're not just hearing the rhythm, you're feeling it. You're physically embedding the music into your memory. It's learning with your whole body. And all of this brings us right to the heart of the matter, putting creativity front and center. The new music class is basically a laboratory for experimentation. It's a place where students are no longer just consumers of music, they're active creators. Here's another great point from Michelle Connolly that really gets to the power of making things relevant. I mean, it just makes sense, right? When music theory can suddenly explain that cool chord change in your favorite pop song or the epic score from a video game, it just clicks. It stops being some abstract idea and becomes personal. And this comparison says it all. Now, don't get me wrong, there is still huge value in analyzing Bach, but the modern classroom opens things up. By looking at the music that's already the soundtrack of their lives, students get a real, practical sense of how melody, harmony, and rhythm actually work out in the wild. And this creativity isn't just a free-for-all. It's really cleverly structured. Teachers use specific strategies, like having students compose a melody using a particular scale, or they'll improvise solos over chord progressions. There's even reharmonization, which is this super cool exercise where you take a song you know and swap in new chords to totally change its vibe. See, they're not just learning what a scale is, they're using it. And the toolkit teachers have today is incredible. You've got technology like free notation software and MIDI keyboards, the ones you can plug into a computer, so students get instant feedback. And I love this one, storytelling. Teachers are explaining harmony by making up stories about notes living in a house together. It just makes these big concepts so much more fun and easier to grasp. And if you want to see how this all comes together, look no further than the Hillcrest School. They had a film scoring project where students had to take everything they were learning about harmony and rhythm and actually create a soundtrack for short film. Now, that's project-based learning. It makes theory feel urgent, relevant, and really, really exciting. So what does this all mean for the future of music? Well, these changes are way more than just a passing trend. They really represent a fundamental shift in how we think about what music education is and what it can be. When we look ahead, we can see exactly where this is all going. We're going to see even more technology, more project-based learning, and way more music from all over the world. But maybe the most important trend is the growing focus on emotional development, on using music as a tool to help students express themselves and connect with each other on a deeper level. And that leaves us with this final, really inspiring thought. If we start treating music like a creative language, something you speak and play with, instead of just a rigid set of rules you have to memorize, what happens then? We're not just teaching theory better, we're empowering a whole new generation of creators. We're giving them the tools to not only understand the music of the past, but to imagine and compose the undiscovered sounds of the future. And that, well, that is an exciting thought.